I.O. Wilson just played the biggest games of her season in front rows of empty seats, and she is not hiding her frustration. The two-time MVP and phases a Las Vegas Aces walked off court after game when the WNBA Finals, and the one thing no one else in a league wanted to admit, the energy was dead, the vibe was off. The stand were nearly empty, and all came down to one glaring absence: Caitlin Clark. The WNBA Golden Goose wasn't anywhere near the finals, and without her the whole production collapsed. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Tickets dropped to $6 for the championship round of Professional Sports League, the Arena League. Like a preseason scrimmage, it was a visual embarrassment. Clark, who had single-handedly drawn 1.8 million viewers to a first-round playoff game, wasn't even mentioned in official promos, and yet her absence echoed louder than any buzzer. The numbers don't lie. Ratings of the finals fell nearly 50%. Impaired again, she did play, and while the league publicly brushed it off, the players didn't. The one Bonner, a 17-year veteran and WNBA legend, let slip to her post-game comments, made it crystal clear this wasn't as bad turnout. It felt like betrayal. These players put on a clinic, played their hearts out, and still found himself performing for half-empty buildings while the league acted like everything was fine. And when Commissioner Kathy Engelberg was pressed, she doubled down, refusing to acknowledge the Caitlin-sized hole in the room. Social media did not hold back. Fans dragged the league for its tone-deaf marketing, the empty arena optics, and refusal to accept what everyone already knows: the WNBA right now is living and dying by Caitlin Clark shadow. Engelberg PR spin didn't help, it backfired. The "we don't need her" energy felt delusional, and fans weren't buying it. What should have been the most exciting matchup of the year turned into a meme. The league's arrogance is costing them. Sponsors are uneasy, broadcasters are checking their calculators, viewers are switching channels, and worst of all, the athletes at the center of it all, Wilson, Bonner, and others, I left wondering what more they have to do to get support that last longer than one media cycle. The league's credibility is cracking fast. $6, that's how much it costs to walk into a WNBA Finals game this year. $6, less than a stadium hot dog, less than a Grande Frappuccino, and apparently still too expensive to draw a crowd. The league's big stage was supposed to be a celebration of talent, grit, and women's basketball at its finest, but instead we got rows and rows of empty seat camera angles to jiggly hiding bare sections of the arena, and a broadcast wide have felt more like a preseason scrimmage and the championship series. An elephant in the room: the glaring absence of Caitlin Clark wasn't as noticeable, it was deafening. This wasn't as a dip in attendance. It was a full-blown collapse after months of headlines, historic viewership numbers, and buzzy debates about the future. The WNBA, the finals, were supposed to capitalize on all that momentum. Instead, the league looked like it hit a brick wall hard, and now fans are angry, players are fed up, the league's leadership is under fire, and internet absolutely ruthless. It all started with expectations coming into the season. The hype around Caitlin Clark had hit stratospheric levels. She wasn't as a rookie, she was a storyline. From the moment she entered the league, she brought eyeballs, headlines, and a level of cultural relevance the WNBA hadn't seen in years. Love her or hate her, people were tuning in. Clark's first playoff game drew over 1.8 million viewers. That's not just good, it's just or she single-handedly spiked interest, brought in casual fans, and gave the league a reason to believe this was the breakout year. But then her team got knocked out, and just like that, so did energy. The finals expectations were sky high, but the air in the building told a different story. Foul, and the seats at empty. Fans online posted photos of desolate sections, joking that the players could probably hear individual cough from the nosebleeds. And those $6 tickets, they weren't even selling out. That's not just a red flag, it's a crisis. I.O. Wilson, one the league's top stars, wasn't having it, as after delivering elite performances on the court, she looked around the atmosphere and had every right to feel insulted. This was a finals, this was supposed to be the pinnacle. Instead, it felt like no one showed up. Wilson and other veterans like the one Bonner made It's clear they were frustrated, disillusioned, and frankly pissed. And they weren't alone. Fans online and whole back either Twitter and TikTok lit up with criticism of the league's handling of the situation. Means Marty, the empty arenas, sarcastic commentary, drag, low energy broadcasts, and users were quick to point out what everyone was thinking. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA just didn't feel the same. The league's leadership, they always do, rolled out the polished statements, talk about grow in the game, and doubled down on the idea that this was still a success. But it wasn't. The ratings plummeted nearly 50% lower than expected. That's not just disappointing, that traffic and fans saw right through the PR spin. Many point the finger directly at WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelberg, accusing her of arrogance, tone-deaf leadership, and flat-out denial instead of acknowledging Clark's impact and the league's need to evolve. Engelberg dismissed concerns and stuck to the script, but that's good. Ripped isn't working anymore. What's worse is not just about the lack of one player. This whole debacle exposed something deeper. The league's over-reliance on Clark wasn't just risky, it was revealing. When one rookie become the only reliable ticket seller, you got a structural problem. And when the finals fall apart without her, the whole system get called into question. Insiders say players have been voicing concern for a month about marketing, fan engagement, in the league's inability to build broader appeal, and this post-season meltdown proven them right. The disconnect between leadership and the people actually playing a game, it's wide, and growing. Sponsorships and broadcasters are starting to take notice too. If the league can't sustain momentum without one player, what's the long-term value? No one wants to invest in a product that's this dependent on a single narrative, and right now the WNBA house of cards is way in the wind. The frustration from the players is palpable. Wilson's post-game comments weren't as emotional, they were a direct call-out. She talked about putting the work, delivering elite performances, and still being met with indifference. Bonner echoed that sentiment, slamming the energy or lack thereof in the arena and questioning whether the league really had her back. This isn't drama for the sake of it. These are elite athletes of the top of their game, feel like their moment is being overshadowed by mismanagement, poor marketing, and a lack of respect. And when the athletes start sounding more honest, and the league itself, that's a PR disaster waiting to explode. The internet wasted no time. Clips of Wilson and Bonner venting went viral. Fans chimed in demanding accountability. Some even call for Engelberg's resignation, accusing her of turning a blind eye to the obvious problems. And once social media gets a hold or something like this, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. At this point, even loyal fans are starting to ask hard questions. Why the league's so resistant to acknowledging what's clearly happening? Why did they drop the ball so badly on maintaining momentum post Clark? And why does it feel like egos driving decisions? Cordia Wilson is a powerhouse. The Wanna banner is a legend. Their storylines, rivalries, and moments with celebrating. But none of that matters if fans are watching, and I fall squarely on the league's failure to market its stars beyond a shiny new rookie. The WNBA had a golden opportunity this season. Caitlin Clark by a whole new wave of interest, casual viewers, and social media buzz. But instead of using that as a launchpad to elevate the entire league, leadership seemed content to ride one wave. And when it crashed, they were left scrambling. It's a lesson in marketing, humility, and basic common since you can build an empire on one player, you have to create a web of stars. A storyline include everyone, and a product that stand on its own regardless of who's in the spotlight. Otherwise, you end up with empty arenas, $6 tickets, and a final that feels like an afterthought. The current crisis isn't as a bump in the road, it's a flash crossing warning sign. If the league doesn't course correct and fast, it risks losing the very moment. I'm at work so hard to build. Sponsors will back away, fans will check out, and the credibility that came with Clark's arrival gone. The irony is this could have been avoided if leadership had embraced Clark's popularity. That downplayed if they had invested in elevating other players alongside her, if they listened to fans and players instead of dismissing them. This finals could have been electric. Instead, it felt like a silent protest, a league in denial, a product caught between ego and opportunity. So now, The WNBA find itself at a crossroads. The anger from players is real, the backlash from fans is growing, the skepticism from partners is loud, and question is no longer about ticket prices, it's about trust. Because what does final fiasco really showed us is a hype can't replace strategy. Star power is amazing, but it has to be supported, and fans, they're not stupid. They see the cracks, they feel the tension, and they know, and they're being sold a fantasy that doesn't match the reality. If the league want to survive this mess, it needs more than another press release. It needs leadership that listens, marketing that reflect reality, and a genuine effort to connect with the people who actually care. The town is there, the passion is there, the potential is still there. But time is running out. If you've been watching this play out and shaking your head, you're not alone. The finals may be over, but the real game is just beginning, and the next season better come with receipts. Let's know what you think. Is it WNBA in denial, or is this just growing pain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button for more celebrity and sports meltdowns, and we'll keep bringing the drama straight to your screen. Because a away world full of chaos, at least the tea never stops spilling. The league and spin this anyway wants but $6 finals tickets. That's not a bargain. That a red flag waving, furious, and wind screaming something's not working here. You don't need to be a marketing executive or PR strategies to figure out that your choice championship series shouldn't be struggling to fill seats like a Tuesday night community theater production. This was supposed to be the pinnacle of the season, not a clearance sale, and here's where it gets even messy. Instead of facing the music, league leadership tried to act like everything was business as usual. Kathy Engelberg, whose job at away is literally to grow and protect the league, was out here downplaying empty arena, is ignoring the ratings crash, and brushing off the obvious truth that everyone else could see. Caitlin Clark move a needle, and without her the league flatlined. That's not Clark's fault, it's not even afforded. The players who did make the finals, they showed up, they competed, they gave everything, but what they're gonna return? Crickets, or worse, condescending spin from the top. Pretend it's all fine and normal, and not an utter disaster for a lead trying to prove it. Relevance, was not a great look. Players who just left everything on the court, having to beg fans to come to their games. Wilson didn't his ball out. She had become her own marketing team. She tweeting, she's showing up on podcasts, she's calling out the silence because of the League One hype. But stars who will, let's be clear, this isn't about one game, it's about a pattern, a fundamental disconnect between what the players are doing and what the league is doing with it. The product on the court, it's solid, but the packaging, it's broken, and players like Wilson, Bonner, and others are done pretending they're not frustrated. This whole mess is expose a painful truth. WNBA had the momentum, it had a buzz, it had a chance to see the cultural moment, and instead of building a league-wide spotlight, it banked everything on one player and failed to build a safety net when she got bounced. That's not strategy, that's wishful thinking, and now the cracks are showing. Social media has been brutal. You'd think a league in crisis might try to listen to conversation, take notes, adjust, but no leadership, still acting like the problem's optics, not execution. They keep shouting growth like the shield, but when your finals have fewer people in the seats than a minor league baseball game, you can't blame the camera angles. The means alone could fill in arena $6 and still no vibes. I sneeze and our whole crowd. Is this a final game or a family reunion? It's funny, but it's also sad because the players deserve better, the fans deserve better, and a league has no one to blame but itself with this preventable math. And before anyone jumped to the whole growing pains excuse, stop. That only works when leadership actually learns something. Right now it feels like they're plugging their ears and humming over the noise. If growth is happening, is not because of the top, it's in spite of it. Let's talk about arrogance, because it's not just missteps, it's an attitude problem. The lead refusal to acknowledge Clark's impact isn't as bad business. Delusional, whether you like or not. The numbers don't lie. She brought in viewers, she brought in headlines, she mattered in a way that movie entire sports landscape, and yet leadership seemed more interested in downplaying that and leveraging it. Maybe it's ego, maybe it's politics, maybe it's the our date. I believe that if we pretend it's equal, it'll become equal. But news flash, ignore reality, doesn't change it, it just makes you look out of touch. Meanwhile, sponsors and networks are watching this in real time, and you can bet they're asking hard questions in the finals, tagged as par without one player. How stable is a product? How deep is the league's bench, not just on the court, But in terms of market, will start compelling narratives and long-term strategy. The WNBA could have used Clark's presence to amplify the entire league. They could have used the spotlight she brought introduce fans to other players' rivalries, so stories, but instead it turned into a weird game, pretend like the and say your name, everything will be fine. Spoiler, it wasn't, and players felt that. You can see it in their interviews, in their tweets, in their body language. They've been fighting for relevance for years, and when a tidal wave attention and finally crashed into the league, instead of writing it, leadership still on the shore arguing about who deserved credit. So now here we are, a final that looked like a ghost town. A ratings drop so sharp and made headlines. Players air in their grievances in public because behind the scenes it's clearly not being handled. And a lead that keeps saying we're growing while tripping over the same mistakes is not just frustrating, it's embarrassing now for the players, but for the people running the show. If fans want a league that treated stars like stars, a finals that feels like a finals, a leadership team that actually listens, instead of gaslighting, a plan that doesn't hinge on one person's popularity to stay afloat. Is that really too much to ask? Apparently yes, because the WNBA response to this crisis has been equal parts silence and spin. Instead of acknowledging the role Clark played in boosting visibility, they treated her like a problem to manage. Instead of boosting Wilson and others to also become household names, they relied on inertia. And what are they get them? $6 finals, a social media dragging, and now a credibility crisis that won't go away with a few Instagram highlight reels. Let's not forget the play. Years did their part. They trained, they played, they gave everything, and in return they're watching their biggest games get mocked for looking like a high school tournament. That's not just a failure, it's a betrayal. The WNBA doesn't need to be the NBA. It doesn't need to be a carbon copy. But what it does need to be is real, honest, and responsive. Right now, it's none of those things. It's a league built on incredible athletes and held back by outdated thinking, bruised egos, and a refusal to evolve. It doesn't have to be this way. There's still time. This disaster could be a wake-up call, a turning point, a chance to finally listen and adjust and build something sustainable. But that starts of accountability, with leadership admitting what went wrong, with real conversations about marketing, engagement, and star development, because the WNBA has the talent, it has a potential. What it doesn't have right now, the trust, and without that, no amount of buzzy rookies or discount tickets can save it. So here's the $1 million question, or well, the $6 question. What now? Do the people at the top keep pretending this finals was a win, or do they finally face the hard truth and rebuild the players not around them? That choice would have fine. Next chapter, the lead and the fans, they're watching, and here's where it really starts to sting. The people who should be carrying as lead forward are the ones getting burned the hardest. Aya Wilson, she's not just a star, she's a franchise MVP level talent, charismatic, consistent. She shows up every night, plays at the highest level, and somehow still gets treated like a side character in a lead that suppose we built around her. The fact that she had to sit 2 empty rows during finals after carrier team in the league on her back all season is nothing short of insulting. And it's not just her, it's players like the one a banner, Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Stewart, women who have dedicated years to building this league the ground up, players who stayed low viewership, the travel struggles, the disrespect, the marketing, and still believe in the bigger picture. What they got this season was a league that finally had a shot at the mainstream, only to fumble with tone-deaf decisions and PR spin. You want to talk about disillusionment? These women were in the finals, the apex of the season, and they couldn't even get a packed house. The energy was flat. The arenas were half empty and the media coverage minimal. It's hard to feel like you're building something special when you're looking around and wondering where everyone went. And the real kicker, there was a crowd earlier in the season. There was excitement, the Caitlin Clark effect with real, and it wasn't subtle, it in sneak in that exploded. But instead of recognizing that and rally around it, the league played defense, like acknowledging her impact would somehow erase the year's work other players have put in. News flash, it doesn't, it amplifies it, or at least it could have if the league had leaned and instead of shutting down. So now, instead of riding a wave of policies and glory, the WNBA is scrambling. Players are frustrated, fans are divided, and league officials still acting like it's not that deep. But it is that deep, because this was supposed to be the season that changed everything, the one that proved women back basketball could draw crowds, headlines, money, and instead we